Hi folks, I'm just going to run through the 8 things that I do when I get a new bike. Pretty much doesn't matter which dirt bike it is, but as soon as I get them, there's 8 things that I do that are very important for setup for me, and probably for a lot of other people too that are in the field of racing and doing hard enduro. This is a 2020 300 XC TPI, and one of the first things that I do is change the handlebars to a lower Pro Taper bar. It's a Pro Taper Evo steering damper low bar. If you ask me the part number, I can get you the part number. I have it written down. I put them on all my bikes. It just allows me to have a little bit more control of the front end, a slightly better feel, and going up hills it's a lot more comfortable. It also helps you to be in the proper rider's position on the bike. The next thing I do is I change out the clutch lever to in fact it's just a Chinese clutch lever, but it's got a little bit of a better feel on it. It's got a little bit of a square edge here, and I do leave the knob on the end, but I modify it a little bit so that I can pull it past my fingers. If I'm getting a little bit tired, I can pull it right past my fingers without the lump hitting into my other fingers there. The next thing I do, the third thing I do, is put a electric fan on. There's an electric fan in there. Now, because the XCs don't run wiring from the factory for the fan, I run a switch. I prefer to run a switch so that the fan's not running when you switch the bike off, especially if you've been doing hard enduro. You're going to run the battery flat if you're not careful. So that's quite an important step for any bike, especially the TPIs. They run really clean, so they're not getting a whole heap of fuel, so they do run a little bit warmer. The next thing I do is I change out the foot brake tread to one of these ones. This is the ones that I manufacture. They're machined out of billet aluminum, and they have these threaded metal studs in them for traction for the boot, but they come back a fair bit further. The stock one comes to about here. Our one comes right back, and I have the pedal quite high so that you don't have to reach for it if your heel is hooked into the foot peg. Now that's the next thing I do, is I change out the foot pegs to these Raptor titanium Pro pegs. Or Pro pegs or Raptor pegs, I'm not quite sure. But these titanium pegs, these are sort of blunted off over the years because I've had them on a lot of different bikes. I've probably got around 12 or 1300 hours at least on them. But if they're too grippy, it grabs your boot, and sometimes you can't get your foot off. So sharp pegs are good, but they need to have just the right amount of traction and just an amount of slip so you can actually get your foot off them. Some guys would argue that no, you have them really sharp and then you don't have to worry and whatever. I also change out and get a skid plate because these bikes don't come with a skid plate. I use the Achirby skid plate. It comes with a nice little link skid on the back. I've found them to be pretty hardy. One of the first ones that I got, I broke the plastic on one of the corners when I first got it, but other than that I've only had one occasion where it's unclipped on the frame on the back here. The other thing I do is change out the tube straight away for mousses. I run a lightweight mousse that is a much lighter than the nitro mousse. Nitro mousses, the soft ones and the harder ones, are very heavy. They're very heavy and they don't last any longer than any other mousse. So I have a special mousse that there is one factory in the world that makes a very lightweight mousse that's soft, and it's got a good volume, so it fills up the tire but it's still soft. Makes the mousse last longer, and it's got a really good feel to it. And being light, it's lighter than a heavy duty tube, so you don't get any extra weight on the vehicle like you do if you're running something really heavy like the nitro mousses. Both the nitro mousse soft ones, they just feel bad. They've got a really dead feel to them. These lightweight ones that I use have a really, really good feel. In fact, they feel just like a tube. You wouldn't know that you're riding on mousses. And then the other thing I do is I always change out the tyres to soft gummy tyres. This is a Metis 454 double green gummy. It's a lightweight carcass because you don't need heavy carcasses in a moose. When you're running a moose, you can just run a light carcass tyre. So the tyre's lightweight, the moose is lighter than a heavy duty tube, so the setup ends up being really good, really light. Another thing I do is run a pull strap on the front. Yep, even I need to be dragged up things sometimes, and not afraid to have the old pull strap there. These are ones that we sell. I think they're about 20 bucks each. Screw onto the handlebars. They're not zip tied on, so they're nice and strong. And then the other thing I do, I don't always run the FMF gnarly. At the moment I am, because I repaired my other pipes, but I run a spark arrestor. This is the FMF Turbine Core 2. There's some other ones. There's just a turbine core, a little bit small, a little bit more compact. But on the 2021 bike of my partner's, we got her a Pro Circuit pipe, which funnily enough is a bit quieter, and it's got a nicer sound to it. It's a little bit of a deeper sound, and it's smaller. I wanted a smaller pipe for her. She's sometimes got a tendency to crash the bikes a little bit hard, so that's another thing that's very important, especially if you're running in forestry. So yeah, that's it, folks. Any questions about any of the things that I do? I do have a few other little tricks on the bike. I run the 2-ride oil filler sleeve to stop dust getting in there. I run this Chinese handlebar pro taper pad. It's really nice and soft, and it actually looks pretty cool. I run heated grips, and that's about the only other thing that I do to these things. I do get rid of the join link on the chain, and I run a rivet link. This is a rivet link. The reason I run the rivet link is because the chain will wear out after about 50-60 hours, and the little slide in pin will tend to come off and fall off while you're riding, and then you're stuck without a chain on your bike, which you really need to get out of places. So yeah, any questions, folks, just shoot me a message on here and I'll answer them. Thanks.